Hello, and welcome to the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program Boot Camp for the school year 2018-2019. My name is Jana DePorter, and I am the program specialist in charge of the FFVP program for this year. On this slide, you'll find my contact information. You can either reach me at my personal account, or you can email the FFVP email. Additionally, you can reach me by phone. For today's webinar, we're going to go over the following agenda. First, we'll look at the FFVP background, then move on to program basics, food safety, claims and reimbursement, nutrition education, and partnerships. What is the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program? The Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program provides all children in participating schools with a variety of free fresh fruits and vegetables throughout the school day. It is an effective and creative way of introducing fresh fruits and vegetables as healthy snack options. The FFVP also encourages schools to develop partnerships at the state and local level for support in implementing and operating the program. The main goal of the FFVP is to create healthier school environments by providing healthier food choices. It does that by expanding the variety of fruits and vegetables children experience, increasing children's fruit and vegetable consumption, and making a difference in children's diets to impact their present and future health. This program is seen as an important catalyst for change in efforts to combat childhood obesity by helping children learn more healthful eating habits. The FFVP introduces school children to a variety of produce that they might otherwise not have had the opportunity to sample. So the FFVP began as a pilot project authorized by Congress in 2002. The pilot provided funds for fresh fruits and vegetables in 4 states, including Iowa, Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio, for the 2002-2003 school year. 25 schools were involved in the pilot to help determine best practices for increasing fruit and vegetable consumption. The success of the pilot led to legislation in 2008 to expand the FFVP and make it a permanent program. To be selected to participate in FFVP, you must be in elementary school. If the school operates pre-K to elementary or elementary to middle, pre-K and middle school students may also participate. However, standalone pre-K and standalone middle schools may not participate. You must operate the National School Lunch Program and be in good standing. Have 50% or more students eligible for free or reduced price meals. Make free fruits and vegetables available to all students at least twice per week. OSSE encourages schools to serve fresh fruits and vegetables more frequently. Note that the only adults allowed to participate are teachers who are directly involved in serving fruits and vegetables and are doing so to model healthy eating habits. Other adults may not participate. You must widely publicize the availability of free fresh fruits and vegetables. And for OSSE, that means that the program is listed on the school website. You must serve fresh fruits and vegetables outside of breakfast and lunch, but during the school day. You must submit and complete an accurate application, which, if you're on this webinar, you've already done. Congratulations. With regards to accommodating disabilities, you must follow the same guidelines as those for NSLP. The USDA and OSSE strongly encourage teacher participation in the program, which includes modeling healthy eating behaviors, distributing fresh fruits and vegetables, and providing nutrition education. Please note that nutrition education is required by OSSE at least once per week. While you may not use program funds to purchase nutrition education materials, there are a number of free materials available from a variety of sources. If schools need help identifying appropriate nutrition education resources, OSSE is able to assist. Include a variety of implementation strategies to increase program participation. Utilize a budgeting tool which will allow schools to spend programs funds at an appropriate rate. Please note that this was sent out already. Establish partnerships with community organizations, food retailers, USDA extension services, etc., to increase fresh fruit and vegetable consumption and nutrition education. now let's talk about program logistics. So who is involved? All children at the school must be served fresh fruits and vegetables. You may not withhold fruits or vegetables as a form of punishment. Food service staff, teachers, and principals help to implement the program in the school, and parents and community members support the school and help model healthy behaviors. What is involved? Fresh fruits and vegetables, 2 tablespoons of low-fat or non-fat dip served with vegetables only. These are the only food items that you may purchase. We do recommend that you limit the service of dips to once per week due to program objectives and funding. Operational costs include produce, serving supplies, cleaning supplies, and wages or salaries of individuals involved in the task of implementing the program. And lastly, administrative costs, which may account for up to 10% of the grant, and includes the purchasing or leasing of FFVP equipment and wages or salaries of employees perform administrative tasks for the FFVP. Think financial reports, writing menus, coordinating nutrition promotion activities, etc. Where can you implement the program? Anywhere on the school premises. Some ideas include classrooms, kiosks, cafeteria, hallways, and playgrounds. When can you implement the program? At any point during the school day, except during breakfast or lunch, or right before students leave school. So what can be served? As I mentioned, the only food items that are allowed to be served are fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, low or fat-free dips for vegetables only, and up to 2 tablespoons per service, or cooked vegetables, which must happen at the same time, or must include a nutrition educational lesson. Please note that the produce you serve should be presented in such a way that it is easily identifiable or recognized for what it is. That means no smoothies, no juices. Encourage children to enjoy fruits and vegetables as they are. What cannot be served? You cannot serve frozen, canned, dried, jellies, or otherwise processed fruits or vegetables, any dip for fruit, any fruit or vegetable juices, cottage cheese, edible flowers, smoothies, or fresh herbs. And while we recognize that these can include healthy foods, they just cannot be a part of this FFVP program. Pop quiz. So, when do FFVP items have to be served? Is it with NSLP, with SVP, outside of NSLP and SVP, or A and B? The answer is C, outside of SVP and NSLP. FFVP can be served at any point throughout the day except during breakfast, during lunch, or when a student is walking out the front door. True or false? High school students are eligible to participate in FFVP. False. Only elementary school students are eligible to participate in FFVP. Now let's move on to produce food safety. When purchasing and receiving fresh produce, it is vital that you are working with reliable and reputable sources. If you're working with a new vendor, be sure to check their storing and handling processes. You might even need to take a tour of the facility where they package the produce just to check it out. Make sure whoever is receiving the produce knows how to properly inspect the produce. They must determine if the produce is in good condition, that there isn't any excessive bruising or other damages, that the size and the quality are what you purchased. Any of those things would be a reason to reject the produce. Before accepting the delivery, be sure to temp the fresh cut produce to make sure it was safely transported. Check the bags and boxes that the produce is in. If the produce doesn't meet your standards, send it back. Accepting poor quality produce will reduce the eye appeal of fresh fruits and vegetables. Train the receiving staff that if they are uncomfortable or unsure how to tell when something should be rejected. Make sure your food safety plan has the receiving delivery standard operating procedure, and then you have reviewed it with the staff who receives the produce. Storing fresh produce. So once you've received the produce, make sure that you write the date you received each produce delivery on every item or case. This will help with tracking the product in the event of a food recall and help you stay on top of spoilage or time to use the produce. A good rule of thumb for produce refrigeration is that if it was refrigerated when you bought it, keep it refrigerated. If it was not refrigerated, you should be safe to leave it out at room temperature. Items that must be stored in the refrigerator include leafy greens, cut tomatoes, cut melons, and other fresh cut produce. Berries, carrots, cauliflower, broccoli, and mushrooms will last longer in cooler temperatures too. Whole tomatoes, bananas, onions, citrus, apples, potatoes, winter squash, and some unripe fruit should be stored at room temperature in designated locations. Produce should be stored above other items that might cause contamination, not below anything you don't want to drip on the fresh produce. For instance, you would not want to store fresh fruits and vegetables beneath any cleaners or raw meats. Note that the produce must also be stored at least 6 inches above the floor. Be sure to take and record refrigeration temperatures every day to make sure your equipment is working correctly. Wash produce right before preparation, but do not wash and then store it. This will advance decay. When you're preparing fresh produce, the most important thing is that you wash your hands. Wash hands thoroughly with soap and warm water before handling produce, as well as after going to the bathroom, handling trash or money, coughing, or sneezing, or any time your hands become soiled. Use gloves, deli paper, or an appropriate utensil to touch ready-to-eat produce. Inspect produce for damage and either cut away affected areas or do not use the item. Clean and sanitize all equipment, utilities, or utensils, and surfaces that come into contact with cut produce before and after each use. Wash produce in continuously running water. Do not soak produce when cleaning or storing. Use a designated vegetable brush to scrub rough surface produce like cantaloupes. Finally, do not rewash packaged produce that has a label indicating that it has been washed or is ready to eat. Handling produce in the classroom. Again, the most important thing is that people are washing their hands. Anyone who comes into contact with produce, including teachers and students, must wash hands using warm water and soap prior to handling produce. If produce is cut up in advance of serving, prepackage or pre-wrap that produce. Deliver produce close to serving time so produce stays the correct temperature. Utilize ice packs, or refrigerated units to keep produce cold. Remember, you can spend up to 10% of your grant on administrative funds to purchase items such as coolers to ensure produce safety. Lastly, discard any leftovers. Let's talk about claims and reimbursements. So, sponsors must reapply every year. Your total application is going to include the total number of enrolled students, including the percent eligible for free and reduced price meals, a certification of support for participation, and that would include signatures by the school food service manager, principal, and district superintendent, and a program implementation plan. Please note that these applications are going to be collected in Orchard and will be due in May. The free and reduced rates and enrollment in March will be what qualifies you for FFVP the following year. The FFVP funding allocation will happen once during the program year. The funding does not follow the school year, it follows the fiscal year. So this year's FFVP allocation began October 1st and will run through September 30th, 2019. Please keep this in mind. You will receive one notification of your grant award letter once your application has been approved. Each school will receive $50 to $75 per student per allocation, and this money is allocated based on your CEP rates and how you spent your money last year. Multiple reallocations will happen throughout the year, so if your school is not spending money at an appropriate rate, your money may be reallocated to a school that needs more funds. Please note that you will also receive a budget monitoring tool as well as an approval letter. Let's go over allowable versus unallowable purchases. So allowable items include small non-food supplies, so think of paper plates, plastic forks, things like that. Any low-fat or fat-free vegetable dips. Remember, it must be served in a portion of 2 tablespoons or less. Fringe benefits for any staff that's involved in the preparation of fruits and vegetables. And of course, the most important thing, which is fresh fruits and vegetables. Please note that food must account for 85% of your grant. How you choose to spend the remaining 15% is up to you. Up to 10% can be spent on administrative costs. Those administrative costs can include large equipment purchases, and there will be a form for you to fill out and get an approval for prior to making that purchase. And then any salaries or benefits for staff that are involved in the planning, managing, and claiming for FFVP. Unacceptable items are going to include processed or preserved fruits and vegetables. Examples of this include canned, frozen, or dried fruits or vegetables, any dip for fruit or vegetable juices, snack-type fruits, fruit strips, fruit drops, fruit leathers, jellied fruit, trail mix, cottage cheese, and smoothies. When purchasing for the FFVP, follow the same procurement procedures as the NSLP. You will most likely be using micro-purchasing, and that will be for purchases of less than $10,000 per purchase. And this would be a one-time purchase that you don't anticipate to be repeated. A small informal purchase would be appropriate for multiple purchases from the same vendor. So if you are using your NSLP vendor to purchase your FFVP produce, then you would be using small and informal purchasing. You will most likely not be using formal purchasing, as no SFA has a grant big enough to warrant a formal purchase. Next, you're going to have to follow Buy American. Please note that if an item is grown domestically, you have to purchase it domestically. The FFVP does provide schools the opportunity to purchase exotic fruits and vegetables that are not available locally or that are not domestically grown. An example of that would be a banana. It's not grown domestically, but you can certainly still offer it as part of the program. So some financial planning tips. Determine if you are going to need to purchase any equipment early on in the year, and that would be a part of your administrative costs. Please remember to fill out the equipment purchase form. Make sure to budget for any monthly supplies that you might need to purchase. Purchase a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. We recognize that there are some lower cost and higher cost fruits and vegetables, and encourage you to balance the purchase of the fruits and vegetables to meet your budgetary needs. And avoid serving the same produce that was served during breakfast, lunch, snack, and supper. The goal is to introduce students to a variety of produce. So again, let's talk about your budget. So think about what makes the most sense for you, what is the easiest thing for you in terms of budgeting, and make sure to use the budgeting tool that was provided for you. This will help you easily track your administrative, operational, and total expenditures. Remember, 85% or more of your budget must go towards food costs. 10% or less may go towards the administrative costs, and no more than 15% in total may be spent on non-food items. So if you decide not to spend 10% of your grant on administrative costs, then you can use 15% of your budget on your operational budget that does not include those fresh fruits and vegetables. The goal is to spend the most possible on fruits and vegetables to get kids excited and eating a wide variety of new produce. In making your budget last, ensure that you are spending at an appropriate rate. If you begin by spending too much at the beginning, it's going to be harder to have your budget last throughout the entire year. Think about things like the cost of a fruit or vegetable. As I mentioned, it could cost more money to purchase a more exotic fruit or vegetable than a less common fruit or veggie. And if you're going to be serving more exotic or more expensive produce, I encourage you to serve smaller portions. Remember that FFVP is mostly supposed to be just a tasting rather than a full-size snack, so you can serve smaller portions of those more exotic fruits and vegetables. We also encourage you to serve produce as often as you can, with a minimum of 2 days per week. Additionally, if your labor costs are high, consider purchasing fruits and vegetables that are already pre-portioned that you can just serve to the students. But if you can afford to cut up the fruits and vegetables at the school, that might be a better option for your school. So claim reimbursement forms and summary cost sheets were recently sent out to each SFA. Please remember that all receipts and invoices are required when you submit your claims, and that those must be maintained by your SFA for 5 years. You must submit your claims to ossi.ffvp@dc.gov. FFVP follows the same claim submission times as NSLP and HSA, and failure to submit all initial and revised claims with corresponding edit checks by the mandated 60-day deadline will result in non-reimbursement. If you have multiple campuses receiving funds, you must complete a claim reimbursement form and cost summary sheet for each site. You should have received a claim reimbursement form and cost summary sheet either for multi-site or for single site from the claims specialist. If you're running low on money, you must fill out an additional funding request form with a reason for your request, an estimate of the amount of money anticipated, and any changes in enrollment to justify your request. Please note that we will be doing allocations a few times during the year, and we will communicate that widely when when there is a reallocation upcoming. So another pop quiz. Which of the following is not an operational cost? Is it fresh fruits and vegetables, large equipment purchases, low-fat or fat-free dip for vegetables, or small supplies? The answer is large equipment purchases. That is an administrative cost. Next question is, what is the maximum percentage of your FFVP allocation that can be spent on non-food items, including administrative costs? Is it 10%, 15%, 20%, or 80%? The answer is 15%. A maximum of 15% can be spent on non-food items. Up to 10% can be spent on administrative costs. And which of the following is not a reimbursable item for FFVP? Fringe benefits, salaries, dried, frozen, or canned fruits and vegetables, or fruits and vegetable juices? The answer is both C and D. You cannot serve any processed fruits or vegetables, and you must be fresh. Next, we're going to talk about nutrition education. So nutrition education plans should fit your students. You may utilize free resources from OSSE, Team Nutrition, and other programs. And you can also create partnerships to obtain no-cost promotional items or services. Remember that you can't use any program funds to purchase any nutrition education materials, but there are plenty of free resources out there and that are available to you. And if you need some help identifying appropriate nutrition education resources, OSSE is more than happy to help. Lastly, you can also adapt your lesson plans in classrooms to incorporate the serving of fresh fruits and vegetables. For instance, I remember when I was a student counting and learning how to do addition, subtraction using M&Ms. So instead of using M&Ms, we could use something like baby carrots or grapes, something to keep it a little bit healthier than M&Ms. Next, we're going to be distributing the monthly produce pick, and this is going to be a part of the Beyond the Trade newsletter. So if you are not signed up, please reach out to me or the OSSE.FFVP email account, and we will make sure you get signed up. This monthly newsletter is going to contain a spotlight, fruit or vegetable of the month, some nutrition, education resources, classroom activities, kid-friendly recipes, nutrition facts, and then some storage and preparation tips. There are a few other ways that you can incorporate nutrition education into already existing subjects. So for science and math, you could do some experiments. You could graph students' favorite fruit and vegetable snacks. You could weigh and measure fruits and vegetables, especially if you have a garden. It would be very cool if you were able to weigh and measure some of the produce that you grow in your school garden. Do gardening and composting, and learn about the nutrients. In English, you could write about your favorite snacks, do research on fruits and vegetables, read books about fruits and vegetables, and do vocabulary and spelling for different fruits and vegetables. One that comes to mind is jicama. That would be a fun one to learn how to spell. Other ideas include doing trivia, talking about fruits and vegetables in foreign languages, doing art projects with fruits and vegetables, and doing a school garden. So OSSE encourages partnerships both internally and externally. Internal partnerships encourage cooperation and commitment from school staff. Please do not leave this program to just one person to manage. Make it a team effort. Some examples of people who might be internal partners include administrators, teachers, food service staff, school nurses, custodial staff, parents, parent-teacher association, and the student government. Externally, you can develop new partnerships. Some examples would include state and national affiliates of the American Cancer, Diabetes, Dietetic, and Heart Associations, the School Nutrition Association, community health agencies, county and state health and agriculture departments, dietitians and dietetic interns, extension agents, hospitals, local grocers and grocery stores, and vocational clubs. So to help you expand your FFVP and make sure that all students are participating and are super excited to be participating, you should create an FFVP team. Team members could include your principal, school nurse, teachers, parent volunteers, food service director, and any other interested staff. We strongly encourage you to use your wellness team, which you've identified as part of your local wellness policy as well. One more pop quiz. True or false? Is nutrition education a required component of FFVP? And of course the answer is true. Make sure you're including nutrition education as part of the program. can be really fun and can get kids really excited about trying new fruits and vegetables and learning about the importance of them in their healthy diets. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at jana.deporter@dc.gov or reach out to offseed.ffvp@dc.gov. And here are some resources for you as you begin to implement your program. If you have any questions about that, again, please feel free to reach out. Thanks so much, and remember, the possibilities are endless. Have a great day.